The outcome needs to be an appropriate size. It could be too big, in which case it needs to be split into several smaller, more easily achievable outcomes. For example, you might set an outcome to be a top tennis player. This is obviously not going to happen by next week, it is too vague and long-term. It needs breaking down into smaller chunks, so ask yourself, what stops me from achieving this? This question will highlight some obvious problems. For example, you do not have a good tennis racket, and you need coaching from a professional player. Then convert these problems into outcomes by asking yourself, what do I want instead? I need to buy a good racket and find a coach. The problem is simply an outcome that is the wrong way up. You may have to go through this process several times with a very big outcome before arriving at a reasonably sized and an achievable first step. Even the longest journey starts with the first step, in the right direction, of course. On the other hand, the outcome may seem too small and trivial to motivate you. For example, I might set out to tidy the workroom, a small and not very exciting task. To bring energy to this, I need to larger, more important, more motivating outcome. So I ask myself, if I got this outcome, what would it do for me? In this example, it might be a necessary step in order to create a working space for doing something else that is much more interesting. Having made that connection, I can tackle the small outcome with energy drawn from the larger one. The final frame round choosing outcomes is ecology. No one exists in isolation. We are all part of larger systems, family, work, friendship networks, and society in general. You need to consider the consequences of achieving your outcome in the context of these wider relationships. Would there be any undesirable byproducts? What would you have to give up, or take on, to achieve it? For example, you might want more freelance work. This would take up more time, so you will spend less time with your family. Achieving a big contract might increase your workload to such an extent that you could not do the job adequately. Make sure your outcome is in harmony with you as a whole person. Outcomes are not about getting what you want at the expense of others. The most valuable and satisfying results are achieved by negotiating and cooperating to establish shared outcomes where everyone wins. This automatically takes care of the ecology issue. These sorts of issues may make you revise your outcome, or change to another outcome that serves the same intention without having the undesirable byproducts. The classic example of choosing an unecological outcome was King Midas, who wanted everything he touched to turn to gold. He soon found this was a distinct liability.